This business it's very clear. It has always been based on the 1% of white women. And it leans directly into that. And the people who are the gatekeepers, they only see people who look like them. And they're only interested in turning those type of clients over to people that look like them.
I want to go where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. My mother always told me so.
It was a painting of
commercial.
Hi everyone, my name is Zadrian Smith and thank you for joining us on WWD for this very important discussion with three Black creatives who are all individually at the top of their fields in both fashion and entertainment as stylists. I'll be speaking to them today about the issues surrounding race and how it has impacted their careers in the industry. This will be the first of three panels where I'll be speaking to other Black creatives about their experiences in the industry. I'll also be speaking to Black hairstylists and Black makeup artists as well. So please join me in welcoming them now. He is responsible for creating the style and fashion direction for Adut Akech, Maria Borges, Sabrina Elba, and Leomi Anderson, Mr. Calvin Opaleye. He is responsible for creating the style and fashion direction for Ava DuVernay, Cynthia Erivo, Yara Shahidi, Alicia Keys, and is also the star of Netflix show Styling Hollywood, Mr. Jason Bolden. He is responsible for creating the style and fashion direction for Cardi B, Kelly Rowland, Normani, and Naomi Campbell, Mr. Kollin Carter. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. So this particular conversation has been a long time coming. And I just want to give the viewers a background about how we got here. So a couple of weeks ago, WWD reached out to several Black creatives asking us to give our voice and our opinions on race issues in the fashion and entertainment industry for a piece that they were doing. I think most of us were contacted and we made a unanimous decision, a vast majority of the creators made a decision that we did not want to take part in the piece unless the piece was going to be covered by a Black journalist. So I want to first say thank you to you three for trusting me and giving me the responsibility to help you tell your stories. But I also want to applaud and thank WWD and Mr. James Fallon and his team for giving us the mic and giving us a platform so that we can have a voice on this very important issue. As a journalist and a stylist, I've been listening to all of your stories over the past week. And to be quite frank, I found what I've heard to be incredibly disappointing. It's a bit saddening, but there are glimpses of hope in the stories because even with all of the obstacles that have been put in your way throughout your career trajectories, you all are beacons of amazing success and amazing accomplishments. So I applaud you for having the determination and thriving through that. But it also made me start to think, if the playing field was leveled out, what could you accomplish? What would you be able to accomplish if we already had these same opportunities as our white counterparts? So I want to jump right in. My first question is for Jason. Jason, why did you think it was important to do this interview with a Black journalist?
Well, I think it's very important to have your story told by one who looks like you, someone who can relate to you. Oftentimes our story has always been, the narrator has always been someone that doesn't look like you. And this is the perfect opportunity to share our experiences through the voice and the face of people who look like us. So it's rare, it's important, and it's very rare that it actually gets to happen in the world of fashion because let's be very honest, it's never happened. So here we are, and I think I can speak for all the other creatives on the panel. Like, I think it's very important, and we're really excited about this talk and this opportunity to express what the hurdles have been and all the turbulence that we experience day to day.
Calvin, I wanted to ask you, as you know, you're mixed race, you're English, you have a white British mother, you have a Black Nigerian father, and when we were speaking, you said that you feel as if your experience in the industry may not match that of your Black colleague. I would love to hear you talk about your experiences and some of the things that you've seen that kind of shows a disparity of perhaps a mixed race person versus a Black person within the industry.
Yeah, well, for me, growing up, I grew up in a very small part of England, like a very white rural part of England. So that had a very big part of my entire kind of journey through life and my understanding of seeing myself. So obviously when I came to the city and saw like a multicultural city and all these other different types of people, it was great. So I have kind of both sides of life and understanding inside of me, and I'm always open to kind of talk about them freely. But when it comes to fashion and colorism, I would definitely say that through my experience, being of a lighter skin tone, it does kind of have certain ways in which that it affects you throughout life. You know, all throughout the world, we see people who have lighter skin tones, they do better in jobs, they do better economically, you know, they do better with housing, all these different things. And it really makes me sit and think how that filters into fashion. And now we have loads of different kind of multi-ethnic, Black, beautiful women working in the industry. And it really wasn't like that a couple of years ago. It was really a kind of a colorism thing. It was all about these light-skinned women, and there was the odd, you know, Black woman, and it was seen as kind of, you know, a token to have one in the show. So for me, yeah, colorism is definitely something I've noticed in fashion. It's why I kind of stand so strongly behind like Black Lives Matter and for Black people, because that just doesn't sit well with me.
Jason, I was going to throw it to you, Jason, because you have, and
I was ready for that.
Right.
One. I was like,
and I'm sure you have something to say on this, and Kollin, you as well, you know, working with Cardi. And Jason, I know that some of your clients are actually mixed race. Have you seen a disparity when you're reaching out for a Black client versus a mixed race client, or a client whose skin tone might be lighter?
I think in the business that we're in, it's always the closest proximity to white. You know, I don't even think it's about being mixed race. I don't think it's just about the idea of this European visual. So it's the closest thing to something that can be skewed as ambiguous, or like, could it possibly be something in her line where it's close to a European descent or white? So I think it's always about the proximity to white. And then, and to lean into something, to actually jump into something else, which is really something that we don't talk about, that we don't get to talk about, but to hear Calvin talk about his experience. And I think Zadrian and Kollin, I don't know if you guys can speak to this, but I'm pretty sure you'll get it, is that Calvin, you can also walk into a room because you have a British accent, and then all of a sudden it's viewed as better, smarter, and all these different things. So you also have that privilege when you come to America. You'll also just have a better chance, like going into rooms and people look at you as being a bit special because you're not American, African, you know what I'm saying? So you're not American in that sense. So there's also that in our world, in our business, where like if I walked in and had a conversation with someone, and then Calvin walked in, they would be like, "Oh, he has an accent. He's British," and it's like it becomes a thing.
Yeah, I think that's really different. I think we don't realize, like, as much as Black Lives Matter and racism is a issue around the world, like America and the UK are two very different places, and they, you know, treat Black people in a slightly different way. In America, the racism is very just overt. It's kind of what you see is what you get. And over here, it's very subtle and swept under the carpet, and it's in all the little nuances, and it's in the small things. And I find that, yeah, it is like that. It's like the closer to the white ideal standard of beauty is the kind of closer you could get towards whatever this idea of success we all have.
It goes back to the proximity to whiteness. Like everything leads into the proximity. And for a lot of people, your proximity is not, because you visually, Calvin, in America, you're Black. Like that's the visual is that. Like there's no way to deny that. But there's also that proximity to white, and sometimes that is just an accent. And that's what we've dealt with, even in just when you think about it, even when you think about actors and actresses, when British people come to America, it's kind of like a thing. And they get to move up the fashion pole a bit swifter than just regular, and I won't say regular, but just classic all-Americana kind of Black women. So there's that thing. Like for example, you could have someone who is who's a rapper and things like that, and they can come to America and all of a sudden they're dressed in all the finest things. And you have someone like a Kollin who has someone like a Cardi who is, you know, quintessential East Coast, and it's a different journey for them. It's a different journey for Americans who actually share the exact same thing that you guys have. But if you have, or you can sit down and all of a sudden there's an accent that come out, everybody's like, oh my God, a special Negro. Like, it feels very that.
Kollin, I do want to talk. You've had such an amazing journey. You know, what you've done with Cardi B has been amazing. And I want to talk about your trajectory to success, because you shared stories in Paris and when we've been at the shows, and you told me about some of the issues you've had at the beginning. But I want to hear about your trajectory with that particular client, but also, do you feel that the music industry is more receptive and it's more of a space where Black artists, Black creatives can thrive?
I absolutely do. I feel like I had to learn earlier on in the game that politically, these are viewed as two completely separate worlds. I feel like as young Black creatives, we are always praised for being super creative and super conceptual and being able to make something out of nothing. And I think that a lot of times people in the world of acting, they almost view you as not having the ability to put a gown on a woman for a red carpet, but have the ability to come up with a crazy concept for a musician. I think that it also depends on how you start out in the game. You know, for me, you know, I worked with different people, I assisted different people, but just so happened my big break was with an artist. And from that point on, I almost got kind of cornered into a room or a space where it was just like, this is what you do and this is what you can do. And coming into something almost feeling like, you know, you can do anything and you can be anything. And then being kind of condensed down into this world where it's like, okay, well, you're creative, you're great, but you do musicians, so we're gonna book you for musicians. And I feel like even the publicists who do book you for, you know, styling things like the Golden Globes or the Oscars, they're not shopping and they're not looking in the world of music in those Black creatives to book for their clients for those major red carpets. And I think that even in the world of accolades, it's like, you know, I've made the Hollywood Reporter 3 times, but it's like, what are the chances of you making something like the cover with a musician as a Black creative? So I think a lot of different things play into that. I think it's very systematic in a way, and I think it's extremely political to the point to where breaking into the world of acting from fashion is like breaking into another threshold or level of fashion, and it really has nothing to do with your ability at all, even though it's made to seem like it does.
What I'm hearing is that it's just basically music and fashion are definitely separate, and there's different rules for each sector.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
That's how I feel personally.
Which brings me to my next question about systems of white solidarity and systems of white privilege. And I think you've already started to talk on that when you started speaking about, you know, fashion and the gatekeepers there. I'd love to know, how do you guys feel the systems of white privilege have manifested themselves in your careers?
I mean, listen, I'm very clear on my career. My career was started and will end with women of color because they saw me, they chose me, and they made me an option for everything. In my career, have I ever had a white publicist call me for a white client? Yes and no, but the ones that they call you for are the ones that everybody has said no for, or that have no real work for you to actually show your work. So I think in the sense of that, it's just like, this business it's very clear. It has always been based on the 1% of white women. And it leans directly into that. And the people who are the gatekeepers, they only see people who look like them. And they're only interested in turning those type of clients over to people that look like them. People can say that's an opinion. I'm here to tell you that's a total fact. The fact is that people of color have not went to went to summer camp with these people. We haven't married cousins and husbands of whoever these people are. It's just we don't get these opportunities, and our names are never presented at these tables when it goes down to anybody. It could be like none of us on this panel will ever have an opportunity to have our names go down if Kate Blanchett wants to try a new stylist. It's because we're not options. What it makes you feel like, going back to what Kollin says, is it's the same thing. It's just like they're only deeming you as you're able to only do a Black person. It's very clear. It's just like, oh, you do music, so you only know how to do music. No, it's like, that's just one person that you actually see me do. So, I mean, I remember earlier in my career, I'll never forget, I had a white publicist say to me, she basically said, she was like, oh, you're really good. You're really good. And I was like, oh, thanks. As I thought she was just being lovely. She goes, you're really good. And you're really good for a Black stylist. And I was she was like, you get all these clothes. For you guys who don't know me and for people who do know me, like my tolerance is about that little. And I basically put her out of my studio, and then I also fired the client that I was working with, because that's where your check marks are coming from, and that's the person that's approving things. I don't want to have anything to do with that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, this business was never built, just like the system was never built to help people of color be progressive, and it shows day by day.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Jason, because this is a really important point. So obviously the opportunities for Black stylists at the luxury level are scarce. So how do you guys feel when the few, as James Baldwin says, the few magical Negroes get to break through that glass ceiling and they choose not to work with Black creatives? So, you know, the Black artists that we see who are nominated for the Oscar, nominated for the Emmys, when you see that they've chosen not to, well, obviously they've chosen not to work with a Black creative, does that make you feel a certain kind of way? Is there an obligation? Like, what are your thoughts? And this is something that I've been speaking to about all of the creatives, and I think it's kind of split, the opinions on this are split down the line because it's a very sensitive topic.
I don't think it's sensitive. I don't think it's sensitive at all. And not to be like that one, but you guys know I'm that one, but I don't think it's sensitive. I think what happens is that it is up to the talent, the Black talent. I want to be very clear. People keep saying people of color. I'm talking about Black people. When Black talent, actors, actresses, when they get to this major peak in their career where they can actually take you on these rides, I think it's very important that they have these conversations and request Black people that are on their list when it comes to fashion, makeup, and styling. I think it's very important. This is the perfect opportunity to take these Black creatives on the journey that they would have never been up for. So I think it's really, really important for Black talent to send the elevator back down. Through all of that, and you figure it out and you go through it, and you know, you actually possibly don't blend, or it doesn't make sense that you go with a me or a Kollin or a Calvin or you, Zadrian, and then you go to someone else that doesn't look like you, then that's fine. Let the best person get the job. But I feel and I know in my heart of heart, the only way you can change everything is when you get to a certain point as a Black person, you have to be able to send the elevator back down. So your first option is, let me go look and make sure, because this is the only time a Black person will get an opportunity and will become an option. So it's up to them. That's how I feel. For me, Taraji took me to my first Emmys. It was also the first time Alexandra Wang ever made a custom red carpet gown. So that was a win for me to actually show my work and show that I was able to take someone like an Alexandra Wang and say, Alex, you do dope work. We need to do a red carpet dress. Taraji gave me the opportunity to actually show the planet what I was capable of doing. You know what I mean? So when they go to Oscars, Emmys, Cannes, Toronto Film, whatever the hell, Grammys, that is the opportunity to expose the talent that has been hidden and looked over. The biggest thing is, like, for us, we know once we're seen, it's undeniable.
I agree with Jason. I do feel like it is Black talent's duty to really kind of take on their own, because like you have your white counterparts who are working with these white actresses, and a lot of these a lot of the Black talent, they go on and they hire these white counterparts as well, and it ends up not being progressive at all, and it doesn't create a space for change. I think that, like Jason said, if we are given the opportunities and we are in these conversations, like that's the biggest issue, is that we're not even made to be options for these situations or for these jobs. We are not options. And I think that that is completely unprogressive. And then you have the Black talent that speaks out about it not being enough color in the room, but it can start with your team. How about that? You can start that with your team. You could start that with the people that you are employing and hiring to create these moments.
Why do you think, and Calvin, we kind of spoke about this when we were chatting as well, about there seems to be a disassociation of Blackness with luxury. And I want to ask, well, I guess we know where the disassociation comes from, but why do you think the Black talent are choosing to go with the white counterparts? And can you empathize with them for that choice? Because they may be thinking to get to that next level, to get that role, or, I need to be with the stylist who's on the top 25 list because that's going to open doors for me. So there is that, birds of a feather flock together mentality. How do you think that that's a part of the decisions for why they're choosing not to work?
I think it's, when you think about this whole world that we're in, it's still very new for Black people, and when it comes down to it, you start looking around and there isn't enough people to really compare yourself to. You find yourself comparing yourself to your white counterparts because they have excelled so much, from endorsements to awards to campaigns and just the visibility. So what you do is, which is pretty normal. Like, you look, if you have no other examples, you're like, oh, I want to get on the Jennifer Aniston boat. I want to get on the Reese Witherspoon boat, because those are all your examples. There is not a lot of Black examples. So, there's a piece of that where you're like, okay, I could see that, because you're like, oh, okay, I want to kind of do what they did. So, and when you say that to someone instantly connects that to, well, you should work with their team, right? Their team. So there's a piece of that, okay, I get it. But you have to, in that moment, as a Black person, you also have to dig deep and say, wow, wait, I got this far. Here is my opportunity to use whatever examples or inspirations you have and go and try to propel to the next level. But again, it's also very difficult, because in the fashion business, it's like they really don't pay attention. At one point, there was 3 Black girls that they cared about. Yeah. And that was it. And it was very obvious, and you would see them on the covers of this, and you would see them in this campaign, and that's it. But like, for a very long time, there wasn't enough. So these girls want what their white counterparts have, and vice versa for us. We want what our white counterparts have. I learned very early on when I would go to couture shows, and I would be like, and somebody would say, oh, no stylists in the front row. And then I would walk in and there would be 3 white stylists in the front row. And I would be like, wait, hold on. Like, what happened? It's very much all the same fight that we're trying to fight from top to bottom. Yes, is it the responsibility for Black talent to be conscious and courteous when it comes to researching and asking where the Black people on the paper when they use as options? That is definitely a thing, but we also have to realize that all their examples are white girls.
But what I want to highlight is the fact of, like, you're saying all of this stuff, which is definitely how the world has been. But right now we're living in such amazing times where we don't need to look at anybody else, because all 3 of us and many other people are literally creating all of our own things. And I'm not necessarily looking at that standard for my kind of inspiration when it comes to my work, like kind of alliterating what Kollin said about he can kind of tell if a Black stylist done something. It's a similar thing with me. And a lot of my inspiration is definitely coming from my culture, from my Blackness, from who I am. And You know, when I first started, I would have loved to have somebody kind of help, you know, as we spoke about helping other Black creatives and stuff like that and supporting other Black people. I would have loved to kind of have the opportunity given to me. And I feel like I was in certain ways. What a blessing it is for us to be in an industry where we have the option to actually do that. And we do work for ourselves and we do have that choice where we can help other people. And for me, it's absolutely paramount that I help Black people. It's paramount that I work with Black makeup artists, Black hairstylists, Black women, Black creators, Black everything, because we are currently in the change right now. We're currently creating a Black Renaissance. So with everything being said about the past, I'm so hopeful, and I can see so many pockets of change across the board where we're just pulling things back for ourselves. And I think that needs to continue. And it starts with things like supporting ourselves, you know, shopping with ourselves, supporting other Black businesses, other Black people. So as much as they're saying all these things, which are actually fact, I see a big change. I see a lot of people pushing that. Me personally, I'm not going to let it go. And people keep on thinking like, oh, is this a fad? Is it going to be over and done with? You know, Black is kind of like a fad right now. Well, for me, it's absolutely not, because it's just the trajectory of where we're going right now. And yeah, I'm kind of hopeful about it.
Calvin, I definitely hear you. I definitely hear you on us being advocates of our own change and supporting our own movement. But I do think that Hollywood is such an institution, and there are some gatekeepers who we can push for, you know, Black culture and you know, support Black talent all we want. But until we have the gatekeepers of the institution to help us make that change, we won't be having amazing award campaign seasons or working with our clients on ad campaigns. So I want to try to dissect this just a bit and pinpoint where the issues lie. So let's start with the talent. So traditionally, when a talent is looking for a stylist, I want to talk about how does it work in industry for that talent to get a stylist, and where do we think the disconnect begins? Where does the discrimination begin? I mean, we kind of talked on it, but I just kind of want to sift it down to just the essence of it. And why do we think there aren't Black stylists working with actors and actresses for award seasons, for the Oscars, for Emmys, for Golden Globes?
We just had the conversation is that as much as people may not want to recognize the institutional racism, and this is that they don't equate Black with chic. They don't equate Black with smart. They don't equate Black with relationships. At the end of the day, that's what it is. And people, and a lot of people in those spaces, you know, they rotate. They literally rotate and take care of the people that they want to take care of. And 99.9% of the time, it's people who look like that.
Well, I think obviously because we're Black people, we're like a lot of my friends, a lot of the people that I hang around with are Black women. It's our culture. So a lot of the clients that I work with are Black women. It's because they're the spaces that I put myself in, you know, and I presume, you know.
Yeah, but that's very different. That's very different. See, what Calvin, I think what you're saying is so progressive and so right? You're saying everything that the way that we should be thinking, right? But unfortunately, we're dealing with a system that does not see it that way, right? When I think of me, like I've been to the Oscars 10 times, right? Every time is for a person who's been nominated, or the one of the only other times was for Serena Williams, right? Who was presenting. Every one of those people, if you look at your white counterparts that do things like that, the stylist was presented to the talent, from them. Everyone that I've been to the Oscars with was because of me calling Kollin, and for example, if Kollin was glam, and me calling Kollin being like, Kollin, I really want to work with her. And then Kollin being able to say, oh my God, you know, because again, this is very intimate. Hair, makeup, and styling is very intimate. You have moments where you can suggest people. There's never been a moment at any time that a publicist, a manager was going to be like, you know what, Cynthia Erivo, you need to work with Calvin. It's never going to happen that way. And I'm talking about people like top tier people who are at the top of their game when it comes to Hollywood. That's a whole nother story. There's no way to get in unless it's a DM or a personal relationship. It's going back to what Collin's saying. It's like, if Kollin has the capability to style someone who is a leading lady. But people are like, no, he only knows how to do music. But then at the same time, you have examples like Carla Welsh and Robin Marielle, who have the capability to style someone for a major red carpet. But no one questions that. So it's a systematic, effed up situation. And I hate to say it, at the end of the day, it goes back to people not equating the capability that you can do because of how you look. And that's, for me, that's just what it boils down to.
I've been in situations where I've met with an agent, or just so people can understand the system. So a talent will have an agent, and they'll be with that agent or that manager for a while. And then when they're ready to kind of do a campaign or ready to do press, they'll bring on their publicist. I've been in situations where the manager has said, I want you for this job, you're great, you're amazing. And then the publicist comes on board, and then I get an email from the manager separately saying they had somebody else in mind for the job. So to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, are we saying that the gatekeepers, the people who really hold the power in connecting us with talent, are publicists?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I want to get that to clarify that. So Kollin, I want to revisit the point that you made about being mentioned by the Hollywood Reporter, but never actually making the list. Now, for those of you not familiar with the Hollywood Reporter, it is the Bible of Hollywood, kind of how Vogue is the Bible of the fashion industry. The Hollywood Reporter every year since 2011 have been putting together a list, the top 25 most powerful stylists in Hollywood. So as you can imagine, a list of this sort holds a lot of weight. And I think a lot of talent, a lot of publicists go to this list to find stylists for their client. But when I delved back a little deeper, and I wanted to just kind of see the numbers. So the list was started in 2011, and in 2011, there was one Black stylist on the list. From 2012 to 2014, there were no Black stylists on the list. 2015, there was one Black stylist on the list. 2016, there was no Black stylist on the list. 2017, there were 2 Black stylists, and Jason, this was the first time that you made the list. In 2018, there were 4 Black stylists. Jason, you were on the list again. And in 2019, this was actually the biggest year for Black stylists. As you might remember, this was also a big year for Black talent in general, with a lot of the films that were coming out. But in 2019, there were 6 Black stylists, and Jason, you maintained your position on the list as well. And this year, 2020, what they've done is they've done the top 10 powerful stylists of the decade, and there's 2 Black stylists on the list. So after seeing this and going through this list, I think it becomes immediately apparent that there is some disparity because the numbers don't seem to match those of Black stylists and their white counterparts. And I think it's problematic. Carol McLaughlin, who runs this, I think it's something that she should reevaluate with her team, because as I stated, this list is a direct link to top talent. And as we've been speaking about, this is one of the main reasons why I believe that Black stylists are not partnering with top actors and actresses during award season, for the Oscars, for the Emmys, for the Golden Globes, because simply their work is not being valued and put on this list. So what I would love to ask you guys is, what value does this list hold in the industry? How do you think it's impacted your career? And is this a part of the problem of why Black creatives don't have access to getting to the luxury level of the entertainment industry in Hollywood?
To be honest, I do feel like the Hollywood Reporter has a great responsibility, but I think that if I'm not put in position to style these clients that are being featured, if I'm not recognized or being attached to this talent, there's really no way for me to make the top 10 list.
That's
you think about.
That's a lie.
You don't think so?
You shifted someone. You have made an icon. You have made a fashion icon that transcends every carpet. Yeah, She's been on every carpet. And every time a carpet opens, the first person they want to see is Cardi. So you have transcended. You should have had a Hollywood Reporter cover because she is Hollywood. It's
Right.
At the end of the day, it goes back to who people personally like, and how I like, and to be completely honest, it does nothing for your business. The first time I was a Hollywood Reporter, and Carol did not put me on the list the first time I was there. It was Meryl who used to be there. And I'll never forget, I went to, this is when they used to have the dinners at Sunset Towers. I went to Sunset Towers and I walked in and I was the only Black person in there. The only Black person, and Wayman and Micah hadn't made it there yet. I was about to turn around and walk out. And it took another stylist who grabbed me by my arm and said to me, "You are supposed to be here." But the reason that I wanted to leave, because it was a painting of nothing but white people. And to go back to, to the Bible, James Baldwin, it was like a special Negro moment. It was the tokenism of it all. And it was just like, I was like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. Here it is that you have a fleet of Black talent who are going to the carpets, and black talent and stylists are really taking it to the max, because these are opportunities. What a lot of people don't understand is these opportunities that we get to walk to the carpet, all of us collectively can say this, we're all at home trying to figure out how to smash this carpet, because it's so impactful. Sometimes it's the first time you've ever done it. A lot of times in your head, subconsciously, you like, this might be the last time, because we just don't know. Because Black talent don't get those options. They can't bomb a movie and then get another movie. Like, you just don't know. So in those moments, it's these people who are writing these lists have no interest in anything else but what looks like them. So Kollin, they feel like they have no connection. They feel like they have no connection with me. So it's completely unfair to take on that responsibility, Kollin. That is not your responsibility. You are talented. You should have been one of the people of the decade. You transitioned someone that everybody, like, she was an underdog. And here you are. That's what fashion is about. And Zadrian and I have this conversation a lot. What separates the great from the good is somebody who can take somebody who everyone was like, I don't know. And now all of a sudden you have the person that people look for change and trend. And you did it. You had one of the impactful Mets of our entire lifetime, Tom Brown. There is nothing to dispute that. The only issue at hand is you have people who are writing lists who don't deem you important. And that is it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. I think that really what I meant is that I feel like as long as these people are writing the list and this talent is what is making the top 10, I think you won't see us. I think that's the point that I'm making. I think that it plays hand in hand. I think Hollywood Reporter work hand in hand with certain publicists.
I'm just going to add something real quick. Certain publicists and certain agencies.
Agencies.
You really want to dissect it. If you look at those lists, more than sometimes 60, 70, 80% of the stylists come from the same agency.
Absolutely. So it's not the point of me feeling like, I'm not worthy, but it's pretty simple. If you're getting accolades for styling, let's say Heidi Klum and another white talent, you will not see me on that list because we are not granted that opportunity to be on that list. So as long as that's what that list is focused on, you won't see us. And that's what I meant. So I do think that we are very worthy and we are very deserving to be top 10. And I know that we have also put in the work to do so. But if these two people or these two entities don't work hand in hand to create a change, you won't see any color in or on those lists. You won't.
How about this, guys? How about this? It don't matter. You still like.
It doesn't
for me,
matter.
I had to have a come to Jesus. I'm like, this doesn't mean anything to me. Like like my clients will always be my clients. I will always have amazing and great clients, and I'm also able to get paid. Like, it doesn't mean anything. So the other idea is like, you should go where you're celebrated, and that's it. Like, I don't need an invite. Don't give me an invite. I'm fine. It doesn't mean anything, and I think we get very caught up in this idea of like, we need the applause. Like, unfortunately, my applause, not unfortunately, but fortunately, my applause came from Janet Mock. My applause came from Yara Shahidi. Like, that's my applause. Like, it's not necessary. Like, you know, there was a point where I was like, oh, it's great. Give me a Hollywood Reporter. And then it's kind of like you get there and you realize what it is. And you're kind of like, oh, this really isn't really based off of, you know, the idea, especially because we're all fashion people. Like, we live and breathe it. You know what I mean? So, and we all know what it takes to get a person ready and into the carpet. We know what that takes. Sometimes that's weeks, that's months, that's conversation, that's blood, sweat, and tears. And then all of a sudden you have this person who doesn't know anything and has no experience in this world, but can actually tap you on your head and decide to knight you. Like, take that power back. You can't knight me. Girl, I'm killing it. I'm good. To date, I'm the only person, just happened to be Black, that has dressed the most people to go to the Met. Like, no one's talking about that.
In the case of kind of like us right now doing it for us. We're not looking for necessarily, I mean, when you get to the higher echelons, of course, which is in place, which are pulling the strings, and this conversation is us addressing that and dismantling it, but us doing for us is the work. That's the power. That is what's going to create the change. And I'm seeing it like bit by bit. You know, I think what's happened with this George Floyd thing and the Black Lives Matter just recently, you know, I've really seen a conversation and a change happen between so many more people than I've ever seen before. And yeah, I just believe it's time for us to just be doing what we need to do for us. And that's going to create the changes that we want to see.
I mean, and let's just to kind of keep our list habit. So we've sifted out publicists, we've sifted out journalists. So now I want to come to the other gatekeepers, the designers. Now, I'm sure you guys have all heard this term, which I find to be very draconian and discriminatory, the designer's target list. So when you reach out, again, people who know what that is, you reach out to a designer and you say, hey, I'm dressing, and I'll use an example that I had. I had a client who was nominated for the Emmys. The series that she was in was also greatly acclaimed, nominated for several Emmys. Reached out to all the top designers and I got a lot of, she's not our aesthetic, she doesn't fit the designer's aesthetic this season. So then I'm thinking, well, what is the designer's aesthetic? And then you see other people who don't have the same resume as her, whose resume, to be quite honest, don't even match up to hers, who are rating that same designer. So I find this list to be very problematic. I want to hear about you guys' experiences with this designer target list. I think, Kollin, you probably have some really interesting stories of designers who maybe said no in the beginning and then started saying yes further down the line. But what role do designers and the PRs in the showroom have in this responsibility to kind of help shift this narrative?
I think they have one of the biggest roles. You know, Zadrian, I shared a story with you where a mega fashion house, they invited me and my client out to a show, and it was out of the blue. And, you know, at that time, just kind of starting out with her, you know, I looked at it like, oh, wow, like this is another milestone for us. We've been trying to get her and this designer. And sometimes I think that, you know, there's a difference between, you know, designers who are flat out racist. And there is a difference between people who you kind of have to make believers of, you know, your art and your movement, when a lot of times some of our counterparts don't. So we attended this show, and I was so excited for what it was to bring to the future in our new relationship together. And they denied every single request after the show. They set my client front row at the show. They posted pictures on their page at the show. They even, without permission, made a lip gloss named after my client, you know, for their brand. But after that, they never lent. And that kind of let me realize for the first time, it's like, wow, like we are being used at times just for a moment, or just to be made out to seem like you are inclusive and you're really not. It's like, you know, having a room full of our white counterparts, but sprinkling, a couple of Black, artists here and there, so no one can really say that it was just all white people. And that was my first time experiencing that with a designer. So I think that it kind of starts with the designers because everybody follows after them. For a long time, Black models were not being used, the way that they are now. And then you had, Gucci, which a few years ago, ended up doing a campaign with all Black models. And that became at that time around that era, that was the cool thing to do. And it was because a designer, took that and put us on a platform and made it seem like it was a cool thing to do, and people followed after. They followed their lead. So I think that designers have one of the biggest responsibilities, one of the biggest tasks to create that narrative and create that change, and not when it's just convenient for them.
Jason, is that why you called out Celine?
For me, I called them out because it was at the height of everything that was happening here in the States, and I was trying to take a minute to just not think about anything, just have a minute. And it just happened to come up on my feed. And it really it triggered and it relit the anger that I had for the idea of people having the opportunity to make a change and then deciding to if I just say this, post this, do this, I'm in the clear. And that's what it felt like to me. And my experience is that from requests to just the visual of Celine, it's never been inclusive or interested in anything that looks like us. So it just really triggered me because it's just it was so false. It didn't feel natural or normal. Just through experiences that I've had with them, it did feel good. So I decided to speak out and say something, which is, as you at this point, if you guys don't know, that's kind of my MO. I'm here to try to shift the planet and make sure that the voices of the unheard are heard. And it's just not cool. That's the best way to put it. But you also can make a final decision to say, I'm going to go to the places that truly support me and get me. And that's an option. That's what we have to start leaning into, going back to what Calvin was saying. It's you gotta lean into your options and gotta own what is really yours. And you gotta change the narrative.
I love what you just said, because I think it is important that we also, none of us would be where we are in our careers, because there are designers and there are publicists and there are managers and there are agents that are supporting us and who are pushing this, who are our true accomplices. I wouldn't even call them allies. Can you guys just talk about specifically designers that have been supportive of you in your careers and who you think are forward thinking and are truly standing in solidarity with the movement to kind of break and dismantle these hierarchies?
I think as you can see, Marc Jacobs from the beginning of time, Marc has always been, for the culture, from Little Kim at the Met to just even now. What I really enjoy about Pier Paolo, which is the creative director for Valentino, he has always made it a mission to give these beautiful imageries and examples of Black beauty. And I think it's really impressive to see someone always kind of been dedicated to it and not because it just seems like a thing to do.
Yeah, I thought Valentino, because I just love what he did with the couture show. I've never seen anything like that before, putting all those beautiful Black models down the runway, and half of them we never even saw before. It had nothing to do with novelty or anything. It was just pure beauty. And, accomplices, as you said, so many people like that who are forcing this change. We're not going to let it go. I really like what the sportswear brands have done, like Nike and Adidas. I think Nike did a tweet and then Adidas retweeted the whole thing. And I thought that was just kind of a big show of solidarity, things like that. We know how influential Black culture is with streetwear and stuff. So for brands like that to be doing so good, I thought was nice. But then on the flip side, you had that little scandal thing with Off-White. I thought Louis Vuitton could have done much better, especially with the scope of their brand. I actually just went onto their Instagram accounts and it was just kind of like dead, really no support and stuff. So yeah, that's a brand that kind of sticks out for me of not being so supportive.
Kollin, what brands do you think need to do better? What brands need to really, we need to catch up?
May I go down the list? I think that there are a lot of brands that need to do better. Fashion Bomb Daily asked me for a quote recently, and the quote that I gave them was, I want fashion houses to realize inclusion based solely on your profit of $1 or your fear of being viewed as racist is not inclusion at all, it's corruption. And I think that we have to really realize and be able to tell the difference between people who have been supportive and designers who have been about Black lives and who have been about Black creatives, and people who are jumping on the bandwagon. Like you said, Calvin, you go to a lot of these designers' pages now and it's completely still, or you'll see, their Black photo, their Black box, and then after that, they've gone back to, their regular and normal ways. I think dressing a Black talent is not enough. I don't. Like, again, because I said, me and my client, we go to this show, and yes, they dressed her and we were placed front row, but like I said, after that, they never dressed her again, and we could hardly get them to respond via email. So I think it's more than what it looks like. It shouldn't be about what it looks like. It should be about what the brand is actually about. So, like, I've had people dress my clients who still, I see how they discriminate towards other Black talent or other Black artists. It doesn't sit well with me, because I do understand that there is a favoritism that I receive, because I'm not just working with a Black artist, I'm working with a Black artist that's at the top right now. And I don't get the same treatment that some of my Black counterparts get. I don't. Like, I get a better treatment, and I feel like, vice versa. There's other Black stylists who receive a completely different treatment than I do. So I think that designers need to kind of make it make sense and level it out all across the board, because you can't just be dressing the token Black girl. Like, that's not how that goes, and that's not supporting. That's you choosing a Black talent because you know that you have to include them in the conversation.
Yeah. We need Black people working in the atelier. We need Black people working in the PR. We need Black people working as assistants. We need Black people all across the board within the fashion house. Exactly as you said.
Absolutely.
I'm going to bring it to a close. You may have started answering my last question. And again, I just want to say, I applaud you for being so brave to have this conversation. Like I said in the beginning of this talk, I think these conversations are very, very necessary, because unless we start having these conversations, the change, people may not even realize that the change, they don't realize that this change needs to be made. And I think we need to continue to be more vocal, because I feel like as Black creators, we're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for fairness, for justice, for safety, and for equity. And my last question for you guys to close it out is, with this, and I think this is the part where I kind of get disheartened, because the system is so deeply entrenched in white privilege. How do we change that? How do we even begin to change that? And maybe, like, I know everyone's saying, let's get Black people in the boardroom, let's get Black people there, but that's going to be a process, because of the lack of resources and the lack of education and the lack of knowledge. Maybe the people don't have the access to even get to those positions. So it's so deeply embedded in our culture. Where do we start?
I mean, I really think that question gets a little tricky for me, because sometimes I feel like we are still left with the responsibility to take on, to create a change that we've always been about. Mm-hmm. We've always been about the change. We are the Black artists who, we are speaking of right now. So I think it's really giving people the responsibility and letting them know, like, hey, you guys have to create this change. You guys have to initiate this change. I mean, we've fought, we've spoken out. And I do think that what we're doing now, having an open conversation It's very progressive, but I think a lot of the responsibility lies within our white counterparts. They need to step up and they need to create that change because, like I said, we are speaking about ourselves. We can work internally like we've always have, but at some point there needs to be someone white in a position of power that realizes that they are a part of the problem and they need to help create the change.
I feel like white people, for a start, need to call out racism wherever they see it. You know, in the workplace, for too long, we've been sweeping everything underneath the carpet and everybody's been getting on with things as normal. And right now, the carpet has just been flapped about and everybody's seeing all of this mess, you know. So I think the key thing is we've always seen it. It's for white people to see it, address it, to get uncomfortable with it, to talk about it, and to dismantle it. It really isn't our issue. It's our issue by default because we have no other choice. We want peace. We have no problem assimilating with anybody else. But this knockdown effect that white supremacy does, it's just very debilitating. And I think that ways that we can kind of break that is just going back to what I've always said is us creating our own. You know, I'm here to kind of like normalize in fashion, like this idea of luxury. You know, you said there was a disconnect between Black people and luxury. For me, it's just ludicrous. Like we're all here to kind of cement that as the new status quo for our people. I want all young Black boys and Black girls to understand that they can stand in all of these spaces, they can achieve all these different things, they can wear all of these nice clothes, you know. They're not gonna teach that to us. We're going to teach that to us.
Well, guys, this is the beginning of a lot of more conversations that need to happen. Again, thank you for joining us. Thank you to WWD. This is the first of 3 panels in this series. I'm also going to be speaking to Black hairstylists and Black makeup artists to share their experiences. But thank you for getting us started off. What you've said is so insightful. And I hope that our audience, the gatekeepers that do have the power to make change, can really take some of this to heart so that we can kind of start to shift this narrative. Thank you so much.